Welcome back to Realistic Progression 1, and this is about episode 3 of about 4 I'm going to release in a row, so we'll be back to normal programming after that, alternating between the few different episodes. Just bear in mind though, if you are wanting to suggest stuff in the comments, you can suggest stuff for the next Minecraft mod pack series if we do one, because we're getting quite close to the end of the existing Project Ozone 3 one. We're not close to the end of the Satisfactory, of course. So yes, let's get on with the Realistic Progression 1. So we designed this area being it's got its fins taken off, because I'm going to actually just put some different fins on in a second, just to make it a slightly more compact, and we'll see if that can actually fit where I want it to fit. So I'm just going to take these aerodynamic fins and I'm going to put them on down probably close to the bottom. There we go. And we'll see how they go and what we have planned, because we're going to put a new stage underneath this. We want to go farther and higher, and the more the better. So our previous record was that A4, that was 198 kilometers or something like that, just with a whole A4 rocket. We're going to design another stage underneath it. So I put a sub-assembly together, and you just drag your sections over here to this drop zone to create a sub-assembly. So let's just pop this underneath here. And this was designed for a slightly different rocket, but this will do. And you'll see we've got a few things that we haven't seen before in this playthrough. One, we've got removable fins, so these will let us control things as long as we have avionics. We'll come back to avionics in a second. We've also got these little separation motors. Now this is going to pull this whole stage downwards or decelerate it when we separate. So it will be taken away from anything up here so that it won't get interfered with. Make sense? And then in here we've got interstage fairing. Now that's flat at the moment. We don't want it flat. Normally there'd be another section of rocket here that actually continues up the same width or slightly narrower. In this case, we've got something that's a lot narrower. So we want to use this as a test. And to do that, you just have to find the area that goes between them. Is that it? Yeah, there it is. So we'll just grab that. So the interstage fairing, it's in this section over here, payload. You want the interstage fairing, not the one up here, the payload fairing. That's entirely different. Although, actually, we may want to go for a payload fairing. Yeah, I think we do, because of the way this is designed. So that's fine. We can just design that from scratch. It's not very expensive either. So payload fairing and a cone or conic. Stop freezing. I think when it does this. Let's just buy both of them. They're both 1. When it stops freezing on me. Come on, game. There we go. There's just a lot of stuff, it seems, that it's searching through. This is fixing a later KSP version, I think. So is that the interstage? Yeah, let's get rid of you. And let's grab the payload fairing. It's going to be gigantic by starting, but we want it down to 1.25 meters. That's the size of this procedural tank over here. So we want that there. We'll put that on underneath. And does this have a decoupler? It probably doesn't. Decoupler is sold separately. It doesn't have a decoupler. So we do need a procedural decoupler. It's going to be in coupling. Buy the procedural decoupler, grab it, and once it stops freezing again, come on game, there we go. And we'll bring the size down, obviously. We'll bring it down to the same size as the engine-ish, 200 millimeters, and then we'll drop this underneath. And there we go. Now, by default, this thing is going to want to try and cover up this whole thing, that's very nice of it. It's kind of useful, but at the same time, not so useful. So what we're going to do instead is bring the size of this down. I want to turn off auto shape. Okay, so we now have control over this blue, and we're going to bring the end of that down. See, we're bringing it down. And this just makes it less weighty, basically, because all of the top section is already aerodynamic. We don't need to do anything with it. And yep, so we can bring it down so that it's there. You'll see it's underneath these fins now, so we may have to change its size to be larger. Okay, it's a little bit odd, but yeah, we'll deal with it. That may do it. Okay, and we don't have anything. Decoupler disable staging. Is there a decoupler on it? Maybe it's just decoupler for, well, let me just ignore that. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it does have a separate decoupler. It doesn't say it does, so it may well just be the sides of this. So let's just keep them all together. They'll both fire at the same time anyway. And then we want our payload fairing. So if we grab the cone fairing, just dock it to the side, press X, and you'll see it now creates a sort of bubble over the fins. And then you can continue to just tweak this a little bit so that it's not so odd. Okay, so cylinder start and end. So end, we can bring this down a little bit more. It's poking through, so let's go back up. And then the maximum size. Yeah, those fins are not very aerodynamic, are they? We probably should do something about that. But let's just leave it like this for now, and let's hope this flies okay. We'll see. All right, so back out we go, and we've got this sort of bubble shape around our top section, or around the lower section of our top section, and then we've got everything else set up. So let's just check our staging, as you normally would. Bottom is going to be, in fact, let's get rid of the U in the way, or move all U up. So we've got bottom engine. That is an RD100. You can advance it to an RD101, I think, at this stage. So if you have a look at this, you can purchase an RD101 for 5,000. I'm not going to worry about it just for this test because we're going to be doing a simulation. And then we're going to release the clamps. Then that's not going to be there. That's going to be as part of separation. So separation is going to be this bottom section going away. The fairing. Do I want that to go sooner? I might want that to go sooner. So why don't we just say fairing can move down here, and also engine can move down here. Because what I don't have on this upper stage, it's a very simple rocket. I don't have anything called ullage. Basically, small motors that push this forward so that the main motor can fire. Remember, it needs pressure in the feed lines to be able to fire this engine. So instead, we're going to fire the engine before it separates, just like we did with the tiny tin booster. This is a really big tin booster. And it's not even a solid rocket booster. And then we'll be able to basically get rid of the fairings at the same time as the engine fires. And then the separation should drag the first stage away, should do whatever the rest of the separation is all at the same time. All right. And then everything should just go away from each other. And we can, of course, reduce these thrusts. They will be very, very quick otherwise. But yeah, let's just save that as Osprey 1. And let's give it a simulation, see if any of it actually works. You never know. The problem, oh, there is one more thing. We need to take account of the craft size. So the craft is currently 15 tons, and there is no avionics on it right now. So what we do need to add to this is avionics. So in pods, we want procedural avionics, and we're going to have to bring it in here. Downside of putting it in the first stage is that once the first stage goes away, there's no control, but there's no control with this anyway, so it's not like we're losing anything. And let's just bring this up to 1.25 meters. 1.25-ish. There we go. All right, and length we'll actually bring it all the way down as much as we can. And then tonnage we're going to bring up. Now, you're going to watch out for tonnage because you're going to have a certain size, and then there's a sort of equation here that depending on whether you go for tonnage or the size of the thing will change the cost of this significantly. So what we're going to do is just up this to 16 tons, and then that's only increased it by a couple of hundred. If we bring this down, you'll see it's already jumped up quite a bit just from bringing this down in size. And if we increase it again, it's next to no cost. So what's the actual performance going to be like is more the question. All right, so we've got a couple of things. The bottom stage is an RD100, as I said. RD100, I've set this for 70 seconds. That's what it's rated for, I think. And then the upper stage, it's only got 54 seconds burn. But total, we're up to something like 6,000, 7,000 meters per second. And I did post in the previous episode the Delta V map, but orbit is something like around 9,000. So this, if it was heading in the right direction, we could get to orbit. But the problem is this first stage is going to be burned through quite quickly. 70 seconds is actually not a great deal of time to actually get speed and direction right. And we can't restart any of these engines. Once they're going, and we can't also change the direction of this upper stage. So it's still going to be a sounding rocket. We still don't have any chance of doing this sort of orbit, I don't think, except by accident. But let's get to simulation and let's see how it flies. Okay, I've adjusted my staging here on the launch pad a little bit because I had them the wrong way around. So what I'm going to try is obviously turning on the engine, and we'll just do that to get started because no point leaving that around. And off we go. Should have immediate control because I have the Avionics package, and then we'll just tip things over a little bit. It's not too concerning where I actually go with this. It's a simulation, of course, so we don't really much care. However, we're going to be thinking about, first of all, getting rid of that fairing, and we're going to get rid of that just before we fire the engine. The engine hopefully then won't cause this lower stage to explode, and then we'll actually pull this first stage away at the same time as we detach both of those from our upper stage. That's it. It's rearranged a little bit from what you saw in the VAB, so we'll see whether this actually works, and then we can go further. So I'm not going to worry about any of this until we get a little bit further up, but that's not going to take very long because this first stage burns out pretty incredibly quickly. We're already at 10 kilometers up, and yeah, it's already half, well, it's more than half through now. It's 2/3 through, so we'll be well supersonic by the time we actually need to do this. You see it's starting to get red, so I need to get rid of this fairing, unfortunately, and it's a little bit hairy doing this when it's going this fast, but yeah, well, into the upper atmosphere, so let's give this a go. Fairing can go, engine can fire, and that's a problem. Yeah, well, it's firing, and it's going in the right direction, but I think what we may have to do is try firing it at the same time as we actually detach everything. Although that will happen just as the other engine is running out of fuel. So I'm not quite sure what to think about that unless we do actually some kind of motor. We do actually need this to go pretty quickly away from everything else. So yeah, I almost want some kind of ullage on this. Although ullage will be incredibly maybe inefficient. Let's actually just go and terminate this. Well, I say inefficient, it's going to be large by comparison to this top stage. But it may well end up with a better rocket by doing it. So let's give it a try. Head back into the VAB. So ullage will be up here, and we can use that to separate this whole thing and make everything a little bit safer. So I'm just going to readjust everything in here just to make sure this is working correctly. So that is our fairing, and we can drop that off whenever we want. We can also try separating all of this at the same time, and basically losing everything else. So the last thing is firing is this engine at the moment, and we just need to just grab this and move it off for a second, and then we're just going to try some separation motors. Now we don't have anything that is anything smaller than this. These are going to be quite large by comparison, but we need to go up to 3 of them maybe to create this so that it is actually in some way balanced. And let's just rotate them down. That's also going to spin them because they're also off center, which isn't a problem. I don't mind doing that. What I may well do is make it slightly slower to spin. All of these things tend to be quite fast anyway. So what you'd also want to do is maybe limit their thrust a little bit so that they spin up slowly. And the spin can happen at the same time as basically everything else, but we'll need to put everything back first. Let's just put this back. There we go. And that will do it. So where are we? So those are the ullage and spin motors, and then we've got this at the top, and we want everything firing at once, don't we? Yeah. How are they in a separate stage again? Probably because I separated all the rocket out. So everything should be pretty much firing at once now. So we're losing our, let's see, we're losing our fairings. We're separating, and we're firing those rocket motors, and all this should I say, carefully, head away from the first stage, because the first stage is going to be pulled back as well. So let's save that, and this is important when you're actually simulating it. It goes off the save state, so you're going to be careful about your staging for that kind of thing. But let's go back to the simulation and see whether this works. Here we are, we're coming up on stage separation, so main engine cutout will happen sometime soon, but we don't need to worry about it anymore. We can just leave it to cut out, and now our speed is going to start decreasing, of course. Now we have a little bit of control, but nothing we need to worry about. So, next stage. So it's spinning up, and our main engines are firing while it's still spinning, and our main engine continues. So that works perfectly well, and I'm quite happy about that. Normally I'm a bit nervous about separation like that because things can have real problems when separating. So yeah, I've got to be a bit careful. However, this will continue to go. It's got 35 seconds to go. Well, let's just see how well this does compared to our single stage A4. So if you have a look on our map screen, you'll see the first stage trajectory, and our second stage is already well beyond what our first stage can actually do, and it's still got 20 seconds of fuel remaining. So yeah, this is going to go quite far, and I'm happy to use this and build it to basically fulfill, well, first of all, contracts, but second of all, records. You know, we can see up here what we're actually going to get. So Osprey 1 is debris. So we're going to get the speed record. That will give us 4 grand, 160 kilometers altitude record, another 2 grand, lots more money, basically. What we would have, 83 from 75 if we deployed this. So let's just actually speed up. This is going to go up to 660. And we're going to get some new science. So we can probably put the science package back on here, I suppose. And let's just, whoops, there we go. And we're going to get a whole bunch more stuff as well. So ultra crude altitude record of 600 kilometers. Lots of money going to come in, I imagine. Yeah, 112. So we definitely want to actually do this, I think. And again, as previous, I'm probably going to actually build 2 of them, depending on the cost. Let's actually go back to the VAB and see what the cost is. So the cost is around about 5 grand. That's not too bad, but mainly I imagine the cost will be in this. So if I take this off for a second, yeah, it's 2 grand just for that. Some of it will be the engine, of course, and that's something to be said. Can we actually use regular tanks rather than tooling this? Because if we tool the tank, it will certainly make it cheaper, but I'm not sure how much longer we're going to use this first stage for. We may have to adjust it slightly to deal with engine advancements to the E101, the 103, etc. And you know, what we could do is design it to be bigger, but then reduce the fuel inside of it to whatever matches the engine. That's one option. The other option is to look in for like standard fuel tank sizes. If you remember, I went for various fuel tanks at the end of the last episode. Yeah, so if we go for the 800, you'll see it is also 1.25 meters. The reason why I chose this 1.25 meters is I knew we had a similar tank from Kerbal itself. So we have 2 of them, roughly speaking, and then we can just assemble the rest. So if I just create an alternate of this version, because we've already got this saved, and I save it, and then I'm just going to take these off, and this, and let's see if we can get something that is about 70 seconds for that engine using straightforward tanks. And let's bring this in. And we want to create ethanol. These all need to be selected individually, unfortunately. So that's 1 minute 6 seconds. So that's pretty much the same thing. And the cost is 3,600. So without tooling the tank, we can probably, can we just replace this one with the next one up? How are you? We need to select fuel, of course. 1 minute 13. That's actually just over what it's rated for, but it is actually pretty much fine. And 3,600. So it's cheaper. I will go for that for now, but we will have to probably go back to that assembly array. So that's why I saved it as a sub-assembly. We're going to be needing it going forward. There we go. Okay, so this is looking a little bit more Kerbal than normal, but it will eventually go back to procedural stuff. We just absolutely need that. So let's just reattach these 4-way and make sure everything is still set up correctly. 3,700 engine, clamps, everything else, and then the aerobie at the top. So let's just save that. We should be okay, and we should be able to then attach it to a launch. Now, how long will it take? It'll take 127 days. So we've got to be careful about accepting contracts until we're able to build this thing, and the launch cost is also another 4 grand. So it's not just this 4 grand here. You also have a cost for rolling it out and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not quite trivial, but given the amount of money we're going to get for this, hey, why not? Launch we go, and that's added to the build list. So let's leave here. I've got a glitch there with the simulation mission achievements, or the simulation milestone achievements. Let's get to the launch pad. I'll obviously not need to show you all the fast forwarding. We're just going to actually just go straight through here. We should also get some tech unlocks while this is going. So post-war avionics is going to unlock. What's in post-war avionics? Material science. Avionics is going to be down here, isn't it? We get booster control upgrade. Okay, and we get the battery, the procedural battery, which is very, very useful later on. That's fine. Okay, it's fine. let's head towards the launch pad for our first launch. I'm not going to put the other one on build just yet, but I am, depending on what we got here, we're not going to get the artificial satellite. Sending rocket altitude, we're going to be able to get this, I think, but it's only 90 days. So I would have to take a chance on whether this can be built. I have to wait till 90 days, less than 90 days are left on the launch pad, and then see whether I can accept these missions. Yeah. 190 is certainly the best one we can actually get, I think. Yeah. So we're going to want this once we're less than 90 days remaining. Okay, here we are on launch itself, and we're going to, you're going to add the SAS. What I did forget to do is research and develop that engine, so we may have some problems, but let's see how well it actually goes. We're just going to launch, and we're not going to worry about the trajectory too much either. We're just going to be able to see how high we can get. That's the main thing. And we'll angle ourselves a little bit as usual, but not terribly much. And let's just tip ourselves over. Mainly for stage separation. We should already miss the launch pad anyway, but it's nice to be safe. Because this is costing us about 8 grand, including the launch cost. So yeah, there we go. We got 70. So yeah, we're going to need more than that, I think, coming up. Fine, and our missions are here. So our send rocket altitude should be here. There we go, above 190. So all I need to do now is just see how this goes. Hopefully it will fail the engine. I will research and develop that RD100. It doesn't take all that much to actually research and develop it. And we're going past 50, good, and we're going to continue to increase. Don't care too much about the trajectory here, and I haven't put the science package on. I just want to get these missions, get lots and lots of cash to be able to buy things like research points and all kinds of other things. So up we go, and we're continuing, and we're about to come up to main engine cutoff. And there's our tiny little space center below us. So off we go. And ready? Hopefully this works. So separation. Ooh, that's not quite as good. Yeah, that's tilting. I probably should have fired the engine pretty much immediately. However, it's precessing around our initial vector, and yeah, let's see. No, it's actually going to be pretty fine. It is off somewhat, but what I think I need to do is have faster spin up. So I may well just adjust the angle of those if we fly this again in future. I haven't added the science package, just want to go as high as possible to get as much cash as possible. We can easily just add the science module, it goes right there. And there's a recovery one as well, so we could separate it and then recover it with a parachute. So yeah, we'd have to go what's counted as suborbital in this stage. Let's go back here. Can we see, well, we're getting lots of stuff. Let's just take a look at what we're getting. So altitude record 200, standing rocket altitude record, uncrewed altitude record, yes. And we just heard everything just fail. Well, not fail, run out of fuel. So it did succeed, just slightly off center. It succeeded quite a lot better than the simulation. Yeah, 1.1 million meters. Yes, straight up. And that should mean I should get even more altitude records. So how much money have we got now? 92. Let's fast forward to... Oh, we can't fast forward because I don't have any recent development unlocked for the... I don't have any of the stations unlocked for the Space Center itself. Let's head all the way up. And we're in space, I guess, near Earth's forest. So we can send back a little bit of science. Got enough electric charge to do it, so we may as well. And I'm not sure we'll get any more. Oh, yeah, we're going to get the biomes. So we'll happily take all the biome science, and I'll see you back at the Space Center to take a look at what we can actually purchase with all that science. Well, the little bits of science, I should say. So we're back at the Space Center. I did encounter the first bug, by the way, and if you get this as well, if your vessel crashes or if it, as it comes back down through the atmosphere and it blows up, sometimes you get the things that says terminate simulation or restart simulation. It, of course, isn't a simulation. Don't hit restart. That'll restart you. You have to fly it again then. You won't cost you anything, but you'll still have to fly it again. Just hit terminate and then it'll just go, yeah, well, of course it isn't a simulation. Duh. But then you can just click on the Space Center as normal and you get back there with everything else. So as you can see, yep, nothing building. And we've got all of our wonderful doubling of money for what cost us like 3,700. So yeah, pretty good. And now we got 8.9 science. So we didn't get any comments saying what we should go for next. So we should just go for, I guess, basic rocketry. That's 3. We may as well take that, and then we'll have a look down here. So we got enough chance to go for different stuff. What is in here? The FASA, FASA, not like NASA, but FASA. The 2 tank, and I do actually want the 2 tank, so that just makes things a little bit better. It is, of course, 10 grand still, but that's becoming a little bit easier on us. So yeah, we can think about getting the service module now. Avionics prototypes, I would like those as well. That's 2.9, and we need 3. And I also would like this as well, but we need lots more science for that. We want to get to that early science node there before we can actually get more stuff going. And each one of these costs a little bit. Geiger molar tube, Geiger counter. Are they the same experiment though? Yeah, probably. And then that probably is more compact, hopefully. Yeah, it is also lighter as well. And then the ion mass spectrometer, and that's also from RP0 Blue Dog model. Okay, so that's pretty much all we can actually get at the moment. Yeah, we got time to go on the rest of these. The battery will have unlocked by now, or at least we can purchase it. It hasn't actually been purchased yet. What actually would it take to upgrade some of these? Ooh, that's going to be quite expensive. That's to get to Patch Conics. Okay, and the other one we need is the mission control, I think. Yeah, so for flight planning. So we need about 500 grand to be able to upgrade both of these to be able to plan in flights. That's quite far away from us right now. We need to achieve orbit probably in the next episode if I can do. But for now, we then have missions. So if I just do this, well, the next mission sort of is a suborbital trajectory and return, uncrewed. I'm not sure what's counted as suborbital versus in space. So we may have to check that one, another test flight or something like that. First artificial satellite is a little bit beyond us, but we can continue to get a little bit more money for launching these. We'll go get 2 grand extra for each one we launch, above 1.2. Oh no, actually, this has gone up now. Yeah, this has gone up quite a lot, and I guess we'll get some money, but our rocket would have to be a little bit better than what we already can do. However, these difficult, easy, and intermediate are fine, but they all require a payload. So what we're going to do for the payload is we're going to go and, well, there's a couple of ways of doing it, but I think we just need to get the service module tanks. Yeah, so let's head into the VAB. And let's just see just how much 20 kilos actually is as far as the size of this thing. So I think it's something just like lead. I don't think it's anything excessive, but we're going to need the service module anyway. Can hold satellite payload, sending rocket payload, and life support supplies, as well as regular fuels. So 10 grand goes out the window, and we can just do this. Now, this is the only sort of usually slightly awkward part of these tanks. So if we just bring that size down, obviously, to something tiny. Oops, tiny. Let's up the diameter a little bit then. Yeah, there we go. So let's just bring it down to about that size. You can, of course, choose the fuels with these easy buttons, but if you choose show UI, you can also place all kinds of other stuff in it. So if you'll see down here at the bottom, we've got lead ballast. I think that counts basically for testing. That's basically a concrete block, or, you know, a Tesla Roadster or something. But we should also have in here the ability to select the sounding rocket payload. ComSat payload, WeatherSat payload, sounding payload. So maximum is 3 liters that we can add there. And yeah, so we're going to need a lot more than that. So we need 20. I think it's basically, I assume it's just water then, because it doesn't give us in kilos. So we need to know what the wet and dry mass was. So the dry mass is 219 and the wet mass is 1.7, so obviously it's 1.5 kilos. So 20 kilos will be quite large. Yeah, so let's just up this a little bit. So diameter, let's bring it up to, what was it, 308? Let's change this into a cone, shall we? Smooth cone. So 300, top needs to be 0. Bottom, we just bring it down. 380 or so. 385. Something like that. And then we want to choose the UI and then choose sound and rocket payload, update. We want to get 20 in there, don't we? 20, update. Let's see what that's now. That's only 10 kilos wet. So we need 40 basically to get to the kilos that we actually need. I think it does it say 20 units or does it say 20 kilos? But we can make a nose cone, assuming that it stays aerodynamically stable with a heavy nose cone like that. However, you know, that's something we're going to test. I think I'm going to test that between the episodes because I want to cover that next episode if we can and, you know, see what we need to do for these other missions. So let's just quickly check the mission itself and see if it says units or not. Wait for the game to catch up a little bit. There we go. 20 units. Fine. So we do have a nose cone that's yeah, we don't have to worry about conversions for density. Good. And it's 20 units for all three of these. So we should be able to easily hit this difficult one, which is 20 units of payload to 100 kilometers with our current rocket. If not even with the earlier rocket. So we should probably just check how well that actually does. 1 second. Actually, no, we're a little bit out of time. So I will test this between the episodes and we'll come back to whether we do that. I think I'm also going to be looking at X-planes soon. That would be nice to actually try. Whether I can actually land the things is something else entirely. What I tend to do is ditch the landings and just attach parachutes. Lots of parachutes. So we'll see whether we can actually do some manned stuff. Also, there is, however, in this version of RP1 that is, in settings, difficulty options, there is an extra section in here for RP0, and if you want to, you can turn off crew retirement. Now, I'm not going to turn it off, but yeah, if you don't turn it off, they can retire if you don't use them. And crews require training, of course, is one of the other things. So there's lots of game difficulty settings for various different options in here that you can choose. I'm not going to worry about too much of them, other than that I've chosen the reverting flight stuff because I need to record multiple times sometimes. Other than that, pretty much straightforward. Okay, just something I thought I'd mention. So I'll leave you there for this time, and next time we'll come back and see if we can get more towards suborbital return and possibly even some manned stuff. Depends how expensive and or dangerous it is. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Give it a thumbs up if you have. Subscribe, share, click the belly for notifications, and of course leave comments for advice for other fellow Kerbonauts. And I will see you next time for some more RP1 release. As always, guys, thanks for watching.